All right. Welcome. And today's episode, how you do anything is how you do everything.
What does that mean, John?
We talked last time about the patterns that we have, specifically around money. And what we want to talk about today is, as an entrepreneur, how do those personal patterns affect our business? All right. So last time we got to talk about Chris's personal financial issues.
I still have a vulnerability hangover happening from that one. Feels so good about it.
Those are rough one. And before that, I got to talk about my financial issues. And Chris and I were talking about it, and we were like, how does this affect other entrepreneurs? Because one of the biggest things that we all struggle with as entrepreneurs and as people in general are money issues, right? Money is an energy, it's a tool. We have different ideas around how to make it, how to hold on to it, how to build it, and then what it means to us personally. And so the idea is how we do anything is how we do everything.
Yeah, how we do anything is how we do everything. So this is really interesting because in the yoga world, like you take like the roots of yoga and what it's really designed to do, it's to help shift perception, right? How you view the world, first and foremost, how you view yourself. And so it's literally like the oldest personal development system ever created. But what's so interesting is, we've been in it and we've been obviously, been practicing since 2002, 3, teaching since 2004, owning businesses since 2005. So we've been in it for a while. And, it was about 2015 when we really started, we saw the future and we realized what was going to happen within our business. And what needed to happen was we needed to level up our understanding of marketing, of advertising, of business, of finances, all that stuff. So these last 4 years have been a crazy big deep dive. Well, we've hired coaches, we've joined mastermind programs. We've done all the things that we knew needed to happen to be able to level up our game so that we can effectively run our business. And what's so fascinating is we were going into these programs thinking, oh, man, we're going to learn how to market. We're going to learn about messaging. We're going to learn offer creation. We're going to learn how to the KPIs of your business, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And invariably what they would start with was, we have to talk about how you feel about yourself. I was like, wait a second, they're talking about yoga.
What it highlighted for us is that entrepreneurship is the best personal development, call it a system, personal development path that we can take. And the reason is that
it's entrepreneurship or yoga. And so when you're a yoga entrepreneur, you are doubling down on your personal development.
You go super fast. When you decide to be an entrepreneur, it means you are taking the risk of putting yourself out there, right? In more ways than one, not just your passion and saying, okay, this is what I love, and this is how what I'm going to present to the world, and this is what I want to make a living doing. But it's all on our shoulders, right? So if you're working for somebody else, you can be passionate about the work and do it completely, but it's up to the other person to take care of you're still going to get a paycheck whether you decide to come in or not, right? You take a sick day, you take a couple days off, you take a vacation, you don't have to look at the details of the business and you still get a paycheck. As an entrepreneur, you then put it all on your shoulders. There's a funny saying, it's I'm giving up my 40-hour work week for an 80-hour work week as an entrepreneur. Because I'm a control freak, right? Because we love the control of it, because it rests on our shoulders. Now, it's the most powerful personal development system because it's up to us whether we succeed or fail, right?
Yeah. It's interesting because part of it. I want to back up just a little bit, and what we're saying is that you believe so wholeheartedly in what you're doing, whatever it is that business is. So for us, it's yoga. We believe so wholeheartedly in it that we are willing to invest everything we have. In the beginning, in 2005, we invested everything we had for this thing to run. If we failed, we lost it all. And that level of commitment requires you to put yourself out there in a way that exposes you. literally exposes you like to believe in something so wholeheartedly that you're willing to say, hey, everyone, here's my message. Yoga, like from martial artists, right? And I want you to pay for these services. In fact, I'm going to open up a yoga studio, a hot yoga studio for us. And I'd love you to come in and let me talk to you about what yoga is. And let me help you heal the pain that you have. Like there's an emotional exposure that happens when you're willing first to go all in on your dreams, right? Because it is like such a heavy commitment to know that I can no longer blame anybody else for my success or my failure but me. Period. And that's growth inspiring because, man, talk about like all the pressure on your shoulders and you're going to pull up your big boy pants, John, or you're not. Right?
I put my boots on.
Put my boots on. And so the next level is, okay, so I've made that commitment. I've put all that pressure on myself because I believe in it so wholeheartedly. But then it's the willingness to share that message. And the moment you open yourself up to that, all of a sudden you're exposing yourself to haters, to people who want to throw shade, to people who aren't in the arena, who haven't committed to that, but who have very strong opinions in this social world we live in about what your message means to them or not. And so by virtue of you having to then express yourself in a way that most likely isn't in the mainstream, isn't in the norm, especially back in 2005 when we started this, it was not like you weren't seeing it on pharmaceutical advertisements. You weren't seeing on every like grocery store advertisement of people doing yoga and like how it represents health now. Like, and so the willingness.
And especially with men teaching it.
Yeah, no doubt. Studio. No doubt. The willingness to go there, right? You can't help but grow in the process by virtue of what it means to be able to be successful in your business as an entrepreneur.
Yeah. And then the other piece of this, which is vitally important, when you can get over all of that, what Chris just said, is bringing your financial money issues into your business because it's going to go there, right? You're all of a sudden, you start to create a following, you start to get traction, you're able to pay the bills every month. And at some point you're able to give yourself a little salary and start to build that, right? Your patterns, your own personal financial patterns or your own budgeting patterns, your own even ideas and feelings about money are going to follow you right into your business. And so what's required of us is to take a real look at that and say, is my feelings around money, are my patterns actually serving me? Are they going to help me, not just personally, but in my business and be able to organize my finances in my business to continue to keep the doors open? Or is it that little parasite that's all of a sudden going to eat its host, right? That's going to take over and all of a sudden I have to close the doors because I haven't managed my money because I'm bringing myself to it. How we do anything is how we do everything.
Yeah. So back in 2016, it was actually the end of 2016. Is that right? No, it was the end of 2016, the very beginning. So January 1, 2017, the structure of our partnership completely changed. We bought out one partner. We separated from the other one. All amicable. It was all like it was right for everyone. You know, the partnership. The way I think of it was like a shoe that just didn't fit anymore. So we had to replace the shoe and put on a different one. And for everyone, it's all worked out well. So, but what happened prior to that? This is what I was saying. Like, man, we knew we had to level up our game. Now, financially, what that meant was, we were on the hook to learn and to know all of it. So back in 2005, one of the things that we knew we didn't know, right, was I didn't understand. Like I went to business school, but I knew I wasn't qualified to run the finances of our business. You know, you may have felt differently, but what we decided collectively to do was to bring on a partner who understood that. Right? And who was in that world and who could manage that. Fast forward to 2015, we realized, man, that's not our reality anymore. Like that person, like we're buying that person out. Like we're moving on our own. And so there was a period of time after that where we stayed with the same bookkeeper, and we were looking, and she was old school, I think she liked the big green accounting book that was like no longer in existence. Like it's all automated now, but God bless her. I love her. I'm not talking smack about her at all. But she was just here it is. She was stuck in her ways. Her pattern was an old school way of doing it, where the system that we used was not cloud-based. You needed 8 passwords to be able to hack into it. No 2 people could be in it at the same time. And so what that meant for us as we're like trying to venture in and run our own business and look at the numbers was that we were literally operating for the future while looking behind.
Months in the past, months. It'd be like driving a car forward, but looking in the rear view mirror to steer. What?
Yeah, it's crazy.
So this brings up another key point and this is a huge transition for us. When studying with our mentors and our coaches, Chris and I dove deep and got a lot of help, and we just consumed information, which was also, it's interesting because there was a vulnerability there, right? We had already become successful in our business, and we got to a point where we were like, we don't know this information. Like we need to study with people that have good strategies, good frameworks to help us. And one of the biggest things that one of our teachers talked about was KPIs, key performance indicators. And so if you are an entrepreneur, if you're a business owner, you have to look at your key performance indicators. Key performance indicators are like, if you were a pilot in a plane, if you're flying a plane and you were doing it during the day, it's kind of easy to fly during the day.
Well, I don't know about flying if it's easy or not.
I don't fly. So, but I mean, you literally can use your eyes. That's my point, right? You can see if a mountain's coming. You can see if you're too close to the ground, right? You can see around. Now, that same pilot has to fly at night. That same pilot has to fly during a rainstorm in the clouds, right? How do they fly? They fly off their numbers. At night, they fly off their numbers.
By their measurements.
They're reading their measurements. They're reading their numbers. They understand how far away they are, how far off the ground they are. They understand all of it based off their numbers. Your business is the exact same thing, right? When everything's beautiful and the sun is out, when you can see clearly and money's coming in and you're doing well, you're like, I don't need to look at my numbers. Everything's cool. But when it gets dark, when the storm comes, if you're not looking at your numbers, you crash. And this was one of the biggest aha moments for Chris and I. We're like, all right, we got to get down and serious about looking at our KPIs. So we started just regularly looking at these key numbers in our business weekly, and then these key numbers monthly, and then being so consistent with it that we could start to pick up the patterns. And that was one of the keys. When we started seeing these patterns, we could make little tweaks in our business to shift the pattern if it wasn't where we wanted it to be. And that it was the game changer for us.
Yeah. So some examples of some KPIs like for us are sales, total sales numbers, numbers of memberships, the number of new people coming in, the percentage of those people that have bought an intro package, the percentage of the intro package people that have purchased another package. Those conversion rates are huge. It's literally the oxygen that fuels the lungs of our business, right? It's the lifeblood of it. And understanding that on a weekly and bi-weekly basis gives us a very clear understanding of how much oxygen do we have in our system right now? Do we need more? Meaning we can make decisions in the now by looking at numbers in the most recent past, so that we don't have to go months and months and months and wonder what happened. How do we end up where we are?
Yeah. Right.
And so what's so interesting about this is that this is no different than your own personal life. I know in my relationship, we talk about in the teacher trainings we do. I'm very binary with this. Like in my relationship with my wife, if there's any tension between us, I look at that as the beginning of the end. We have an awesome relationship. So I love her to death. I guarantee I will be with her for the rest of my life, period. You can mark this podcast episode as I just threw the gauntlet down. That's what's going to happen. And I believe it wholeheartedly, and I know it's true. It's because I know in real time when something's amiss between us, I have to resolve it.
What you're saying is trends, right, Chris?
Yeah,
You're looking at the trends.
Yeah, there's a great book. It was, what was it? It was Essentialism, I think. It was Essentialism or The One Thing. Either one of those books are awesome. You should read both of them. But it was Essentialism, and they were talking about trying to find the leads in your life. Mm-hmm. Journalism at its heart is trying to find the lead. What the lead isn't like, it's not the story that's presented, it's what does the story mean? It's not all the details, it's what's embedded in those details as far as the meaning of what's happening now and what does that mean for the future. And what I mean by that is like the KPIs are those details. There are leads in there that are going to give you the information that you need to make changes to keep the business running on a very sound financial footing. For my relationship, the leads are the experiences, the feelings that I have between my wife and I, and this is all relationships, and I'm just using this as an example, that are giving me the trends in our relationship that will influence the way we feel about each other tomorrow and the next day and the next day. So I mean it sincerely. Like when there's tension, I have to resolve it as soon as possible because I know the potential of what that's going to mean. The lead in that story is there is some dysfunction on our horizon. There is some tension on a horizon. And if you know in your own relationships, like it's not one big thing. It's a lot of little things that just fill the gaps and create space and friction and tension between two people. It's no different in business. No. There's little decisions that are made and little spaces that fill up in between where you want to be and where you are, that if you're not looking at them regularly, you look back, just as I would in my relationship, and be like, how did we end up here? Or if I look at my business, like, how did we end up here?
Or your personal finances.
Yeah.
You end up going on a shopping spree every Saturday. That's what you do. And all of a sudden you're spending more than you're bringing in, but maybe just not by a whole lot. And then 3 or 4 months down the road, you look back and you're like, how did I end up in debt? How did I end up here? It's the same thing for your business, the same thing for your relationships. It is the same thing. We have to stop, take stock of where we are, look at our KPIs, our key performance indicators in our personal finances, in our relationships, in your business, in order to change what's not working and then shift it into a way that is working so that you can be successful with it in any realm, right? We have to see our numbers.
Yeah. So here's the takeaway. There is a pattern that you have in your life, just like I have patterns in my life and John has patterns in his life that are influencing the way we operate personally and professionally. Looking at those as just facts, not as like the story of me and what that and all the things that it means because of that, but just pure facts. Oh, when this happens, I do this. And when that happens, I do that. Understanding that is it's literally hacking in to your own experiences so that they don't sabotage the beauty and the effort and all the hard work and the sacrifice that you've put in to being an entrepreneur and doing the work of putting it all out there and taking a stand for what you believe in and what you love. Because how you do anything is how you do everything. When we focus on those things and we get clear about the facts of our lives, where these are just the patterns, that's the first step in understanding, oh, I will or will not allow that to bleed into this other area.
Yeah.
And then it's understanding the lifeblood, the numbers, the KPIs.
Because the numbers aren't emotional. Chris just said, the numbers are just the facts, but they're a map. They show you where you've been, and they're a great projection of where you're going to go. So
that's all I got.
That's it. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you on the next one. Thanks so much, everybody.
Peace. Yes. Thanks so much for listening to Yoga Entrepreneur Secrets. Do you have a question that you'd like us to answer raw and uncut on the podcast?
If you want your questions answered, all you need to do is head over to Apple Podcasts and do 3 simple things.
1, rate and review, telling us what you think of the podcast. 2, in that review, ask anything you want related to yoga. And 3, if you want a shout out, leave your Instagram handle or name. And that's it.
Then listen in to hear your question answered live, raw, and uncut.
Join us next time on Yoga Entrepreneur Secrets Podcast.
Thanks.